Hey guys, I know you're missing me, but what can I say? I'm at home, lounging in my living room, making videos for you. Okay, so you got a new packet today. I really hope that Friday your packet went well. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to start off doing the same thing that we did on Friday by clearing our calculator's memory, okay? Because if at a time during the test your calculator isn't doing the right thing, I cannot come over and clear it for you. I can't do anything with the calculator. So I want to make sure you guys have enough practice that you remember how to do it. So grab your calculators, get your packet ready. Try to give you some time to do that. Thought about talking in a different voice today, but, you guys would just sit there and laugh. You're probably already laughing at me. It's not nice, by the way. Okay. So, on your calculator, you're going to press second and the plus sign to pull up our memory menu. Alright. And we want to press 7 for the reset. We want to do all RAM. It's already selected, so we'll just press enter. And remember, this is the screen saying, are you really sure you want to do that? So we're going to press option number 2. And then we should get a screen that says RAM clear. Now remember, sometimes my calculator thing when I record these does not pop up. So you should have something that says RAM cleared down here, and you should all be good to go. By the way, if you're sitting there and you don't have a calculator, I have a few calculators back there with your substitute. Alright, don't go through the lesson without a calculator. So if you don't have one, get up, take a license, there's some keys back there, and ask politely for a calculator. I'm going to give you like 10 seconds. Okay, time's up. Alright. So we're just going to press clear here. Alright, so we've cleared this memory here. And make sure you have packet. Take a look at number 1. Now, if you'll remember, everything that we did last week, alright, did not have an equal sign. So if you look at that packet, I told you every time you have a problem, okay, and you got these variables, you can just make your value of x and all of that. So we're not going to do our value of x today because we actually have equal signs. Anytime you have an equal sign, you can't really do that, alright? But you can use your table, alright? So when you have an equal sign, you want to use the table a lot, okay? Or if there's a graph, you want to look at things on the graph. So remember, okay, number 1 says find the x-intercepts of the following quadratic equation. Then they give you an equation, and they give you 4 choices, okay? Remember, x-intercepts are your zeros, they're your roots, they're your x-intercepts, okay? They have 3 different names. If you need to make a note of that somewhere, make a note. X-intercepts are the same as zeros, are the same as roots. Doesn't matter how they word it, that's what it means. So what they're wanting to know is, what are your zeros? Well, see how you have 2 sides of your equation, right? Okay, you've got x squared minus 9x minus 36 on one side, and then you have 0 on the other. So remember here a few weeks ago, or I don't know when, we talked about how one side we're going to put in for the y1, the other side we're going to put in for y2. Oh, look, it's looking like Christmas up in here. Alright, so we're going to put this side in for our y1, this side in for our y2, and then we're going to go to our table. And right now you've cleared your memory, so we need to do a couple things here. Alright, first things first. Let's set up for us to pick our own values for the table. Alright, we've done this several times, so those of you who don't remember how to do this, you need to start retaining some stuff here. Also, looked at your grades from Friday. Not too shabby, but I think we can do better. Okay? So, first things first, we're going to press second and window. Second window to bring up the table setup menu. So right down here where it says independent, we want to change that to ask because we want to do our own work. Okay? So change that to ask. Now we're all set up. So go back to your y equals. And we're going to put in x squared minus 9x minus 36. So x squared minus 9x minus 36 into our y1. And then in our y0, we're going to put 0. Okay, so we want to know when is the y1 equal to the y2. Alright, well they give you 4 answer choices, so it's got to be one of them. So let's go take a look at our table. So second graph. Right now it should be blank. Alright, if it's not blank, raise your hand, have the sub pause my talking, alright, and have your neighbor help you with that. Do not go through the entire lesson because you fell behind and I told you how to set up your table to just ask, and then at the end you don't know what you've done. Okay, fix it now. So, if your table is not blank, raise your hand and ask for help. Okay? So, moving on here. Answer choice A is negative 36 and 1. So, we're going to try negative 36. Enter. Does my y1 equal my y2? So, in other words, is my y1 the same as my y2? No, it's not. So there's no point in even plugging in 1. I mean, you can do it for kicks and giggles if you want to, alright, but it's not going to give you anything good. So that doesn't equal. A is out. So we're going to try B. 3 and negative 12. So I'm going to plug in 3. They are not equal. Alright, this box does not equal this box. So I'm going to go on. I don't even need to try negative 12. I'm going to go on to answer C, 36 and negative 1. So 36. Nope, 36 didn't work, so there's no point in trying negative 1. So we'll try negative 3 and 12. Now, it's always good to try both, even if the first one works, because sometimes they trick you with answers that have, you know, common answers. So if you'll notice, I got a 0 over here and a 0 over here. So those two match, and then I got 0 here, 0 here, these two match. Now, common misconception from the last time we did this. Some of you thought that all 4 of these had to match. Okay? That's not true. Okay? It just has to be this row has to match each other, and this has to match each other. This could be 0 and 0, and this could be 12 and 12. It really, you know, doesn't matter. Alright? They just have to match. So, our answer is answer D. Alright, answer D. If you have a question on that one, write it down, and when I come back, probably either Friday or after spring break, I'll be happy to answer that question for you. Okay? Alright, moving on to answer 2. You actually have a graph, right? And I'm sorry that I can't shoot these up here for you, but, you know, this is as far as my techno-savvy self goes. So you have something that kind of looks like this. Here's 1, 5, and 5. And it kind of looks like this, right? Don't laugh at my graph. Y'all know it's beautiful. Okay, so they want to know which of the following equations fits this graph. So here's the deal. This is what you can do. You can graph every single answer and then find the one that matches. But remember, I always tell you, when you're trying to match a picture with a picture, important things to look at are the intercepts. So that would be, it crosses here at 1, and it crosses at 5. And then on the y-axis, it crosses at 5. And if you're even looking further, the vertex right here is at 3, negative 4. So you can approach this a couple of different ways, okay? Some people like to graph one at a time. Me personally, especially since you have colored calculators this time, I think it would be good for you to graph all 4 at the same time. So, in other words, A would be your y1, B could be your y2, C your y3, and answer D could be your y4. All right. I think that's a good way to do it, and then you can see all of them at the same time and compare things. So that's how I'm going to work this problem. You can just graph one at a time and compare these things, all right, and see which one gets you there, all right. So I'm going to go over here to my y equals. I'm taking out anything that I have in here. So if you've got stuff from the last equation, you need to take that stuff out. So for my y1, I'm just going to plug that in. X squared minus x minus 5. Go to my y2, and I'm going to plug in answer B. So x squared minus 6x plus 5. Answer C, x squared plus 4x plus 5. And last but not least, negative x squared minus 6x plus 5. Now remember, you don't have a time constraint when you take this test, so you can kind of just get it all in there. And look, oh, my thing's cool. It actually shows me everything all at the same time. That is pretty awesome. Huh. Although that doesn't even look right. That one shouldn't be aligned. Okay. Anyways, we'll get it fixed. Okay. So I have 4 equations. You don't get this little thing right here because, you know, mine's better. I'm just teasing. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and graph these. Now remember, my screen is probably going to freeze and all my stuff isn't going to show up on there. So you guys should have several different things. Please make sure they're all different colors. You don't want these to graph with different colors. And also make sure that you've got them in correctly, okay? Some of the big things that happen is you put things in the wrong way. All right, so here's my y1. Next up is my y2, which you're probably not seeing this, but I'm going to kind of trace it. And my y3, and if your colors are the same as mine, it should be blue, red, black, and then pink. All right, so I have this blue one right here that kind of comes down. Now, if you notice, all right, it should be fairly easy to tell that the blue one is not right, okay, because it crosses way down here on the y-axis at 2, 3, 4 at -5, okay, and we're looking for it to cross the x-axis at 1 and 5, and it's clearly not doing that. So y1 is out. All right, y2 is the red one. All right, if you look at it, it's crossing at 1, 5, and on the y-axis it's crossing at 5, and its vertex looks to be at 3, -4. Okay, so I think this is the clear winner, but we're going to go ahead and discuss the other ones. All right, here's your y3, should be right over here. Again, just in case it's not up there, I'm tracing it with my pen. So you should have a graph that's up here. That's clearly not it. And then the pink one is just way off. It's going down. All right. So I think the clear winner here is the red line, which was our y2. And in y2 we put in answer B, so the answer is B. Okay. If you have questions on that one, or there was something that you didn't understand, please make a note of that, and we will talk about it whenever I get back. And FYI, trying to make this video a little more interesting for y'all, and my husband's calling me a dork over here. But I think he's learning. He's real interested. Okay, he's not, but it doesn't matter. All right, question number 3. At what value of x does the minimum or maximum occur for the function below? Here's the deal, okay? Minimums and maximums. all right? That's either the top or the bottom of your parabola, okay? So remember, if it opens down, you have a maximum. And if it opens up, you have a minimum. Now remember, for it to open down, you have to have a negative in front of the x squared term. For it to open up, it has to be a positive in front of the x squared term. All right? So they give you an equation, and listen, with all these things, it's good to know what it looks like. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually graph it and look at the picture of it. Okay? First of all, you should just notice that in front of 7, in the very front of your equation, it's positive. So it should open up, all right? But if you don't know that, it's fine because you're fixing to graph it. So go to your y equals. You want to take everything out. Okay, don't leave anything in there. You don't want to mess things up. So I'm going to go back up to my y1. And I'm going to put that in just like it looks. So 7. Then I got a parenthesis, x minus 4. Parentheses squared. Then I'm going to tack on minus 9. Okay? So put that in your calculator. And then go ahead and turn your page. All right, because I got to turn my page, so I know you guys have to turn your page. And then I'm going to look. So I have 2 options for a minimum and 2 options for a maximum. So if I graph this, which I'm not sure if you're going to see my graph or not, but I'll trace it because you should have yours graphed. It should start here and come down and go back up. So this is opening up, which means I have a low point, which is a minimum. So I can immediately mark out C and D because those options are a maximum. Okay? Now, it is also important to know that it says at what value of x. So we don't want to know how low it goes. That would be the y value. We want to know what's the x value at this low point. So if I were to go straight up, the x value would be right here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So when x is 4, I have a minimum. So that is answer A. All right? You got to pay really close attention to the wording because they do give you -9 as an option for the minimum, okay? So be careful with that one. All right, number 4. Which statement best describes these 2 functions? All right, again, if you look at all of your answer choices, they're talking about minimums and maximums. So let's decide, first of all, which has a minimum and which has a maximum, because that could get rid of an answer for us. So if you look at f of x, you notice that in front of the 2x squared, it's positive. So that means that for number 4, for your f of x, it's going to open up. If it opens up, that means you have a minimum. Okay? Take a look at g of x. G of x has a negative x squared. It's negative, so it opens down, which means it has a maximum. Okay? You're on top of the hill. So for every sentence, when you read it, it should have the minimum of f and then maximum of g. So if you look at option A, you've got minimum of f is greater than the maximum of g. That's fine. Minimum of f is the same as the minimum of g. Well, g doesn't have a minimum. G has a maximum. All right? So we're going to mark out answer B. So mark out B. Get rid of it. All right? C says minimum of f, maximum of g. D says minimum of f, maximum of g. So the rest are okay. All right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to graph them. So we're going to put our f of x in the first y, and we're going to put g of x in the second y. So I've got 2x squared minus 8x plus 20. Then I'm going to put y2 down here, so g of x goes in that one. We got negative x squared plus 2x plus 4. Alright, if you try to graph these and you get an error message, go back to look at your y2. Make sure that you did a negative x squared and not a minus x squared. You have to use the little negative button. Remember, if you would read it as negative x squared, you put a negative. If you would say minus x squared, you would put a minus. So think of how you would read it. Alright, so we're going to graph these. The first one that graphs will be my f of x. Okay? If it ever graphs. There it goes. Alright, so there's my f of x. No, I take that back. That's my g of x. Alright, so here's the deal. On mine, I only have one showing up. Okay? And so that's kind of a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out a little bit so we can see if it's somewhere else on the graph that we just can't see. So go over here in the middle on the top. You're going to press zoom and zoom out. So that's option 3. Okay, and it's telling me, it's asking me where I want to zoom. That's fine right there. So I'll press enter. So we're going to zoom out and see if, there we go. There's our y1, and I know that because it's blue. Alright, see how y1 is supposed to be blue, and then y2 will be red. So here's my y1. Here is my y2. And so I have to figure out which one is better. Well, obviously, the minimum of f of x is way up here. The maximum for g of x is way down here. So I know that this value is greater than this value. So I need the one that says the minimum of f of x is greater than the maximum of g of x. And that is option A. Okay? So this one's way above. Alright, now I don't want y'all to leave this like this, okay? Because on your next problem, I'm pretty sure you're not going to want it like this. So, go back to zoom. See how option 6 says standard? Everybody see that down there? Choose 6, but do not press enter. Just press 6. If you press enter, it's going to freeze your calculator up, and you'll have to turn it off and then turn it back on. Okay. Alright, did everybody get back here to this standard screen? Alright, anytime you want to get back to the middle of your graph, just do zoom 6, but don't press enter. Okay, if you have any questions on that, just do that. Okay, number 5 I'm going to let you do on your own. You're looking for the y-intercept or where it crosses the y-axis, so you'll just want to graph that. Number 6, you're just matching a graph. So you're going to graph that and then choose the graph that matches yours. Remember, you want to look at intercepts and maybe the vertex if you have to. Alright, same thing with number 7. You're just matching a graph. 8, they want to know which direction the parabola opens. Well, if you just graph it, you should be able to tell that. 9, they want to know the minimum and maximum, and I will give you a hint here. When they ask just for the minimum or maximum and they don't ask you for the x or y value, it will just be the y value. So on number 9, you need to tell me the y value of the minimum or maximum. Alright? And then 10 wants the x-intercepts. So on number 10, you don't want to graph it, but you want to put it in your y equals. This one will be just like number, I believe it was number 1. Yes, just like number 1. So you'll want to use your y1 and your y2. Okay, and then plug in all of your choices into your table. Alright, so you have a few to do here at the end, alright, of class. The next section, there's only two sections in this packet. The last one had like 40 questions. I hope that you got the first 30 done of that. Is real-world equations. Alright, so this is what I would like for you to do. Alright, number 1 and number 5, alright, they have graphs that go with them. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple hints. So if you would, make sure you're looking on the real-world equations part, number 1 and number 5. If you will look at the graphs they give you, think of them just like a regular graph, okay? They're just giving you a graph that goes with, you know, a plant vegetable garden. All right? The x-intercepts, or your zeros, are 2 and 8. So what you want to do is you want to put in each equation and check the zeros. But here's the deal. Notice they give you 3 equations that open down and 1 that opens up. Okay? You need one that opens down because the graph that you're looking at opens down. So obviously, C is not an answer choice. Alright, so what you want to do is plug into your y equals, and then you want to check the zeros. So that means that you'll want to plug in to your table 2 and 8 and make sure you get zeros for those two. Alright, number 5 is pretty similar. Alright, but if you look at the answer choices for 5, they're in tables. Alright, and here's you a hint for number 5. The T represents your X, and the H represents your Y. Because if you notice on the graph, time is on the bottom, and the height is going up and down, just like your X and Y axes. And if you plug in all of the time values, so if I go to my table and I plug in 0.1, 0.2, well, no, I take that back. You're not going to want to do that. They didn't give you an equation. So what you want to do is you want to look at them on your graph. So, for instance, table A. If I look at 0.1 second, and I look at my graph at 0.1 second, it should be at 0.5 for a height. Alright, and that one works. So then I would want to look at 0.2. Alright, what I want you to do is I want you to take a stab at the real world situation problems, okay? And see what you can come up with, alright? And we're going to talk about those more in depth when I get back, alright? But I do want you to finish the problems from the beginning, and then I want you to start working on the real world problems. Tomorrow what you're going to do is you're going to be doing a lot of quadratic graphs on Study Island, and I am taking a grade for that. Alright, it is how well you do on it, so you want to do your best. If you finish your 20 problems, that does not mean you stop. Okay, I want you to continue. The more practice you get, the better off you are. Okay? So, if you have questions on this packet, remember, don't throw away the packets. I'm going to be looking at them, plus we're going to use them throughout the EOI review. You'll also have another packet on Thursday. And remember, these are your grades. These are easy grades. Do not, just not do them. Okay? Okay. I'm over and out, people. Be good for the sub.